So I wanted to remain on this slide here for just a split second because I kind of felt rushed on that last one. Um, but the thing is no matter what we do, whether we are in a high-speed chase, whether we are serving a search warrant with the SWAT team, um, or we're just out taking your garden variety shoplifting report, no matter what we do, where we do it, or how we do it, our job as police officers 100% of the time is to protect the innocent. So, this is why sometimes you'll see us shut down a pursuit of a suspect, um, even though it's a good high speed pursuit. We'll go ahead and shut it down sometimes because we feel like the pursuit is getting too dangerous for the motoring public, and our job is to protect the innocent, which everybody but the person we're chasing is innocent in that particular situation. Whenever we serve a search warrant with the SWAT team, you know, we don't want to go slamming around innocent people. So all of the time, no matter what we are doing, our job is to protect the innocent. We can do these other things, but if we're not protecting the innocent, then we're not doing our job. So I just wanted to kind of drive that point home right quick. So we talk here, James Q. Wilson gives us three very distinctive styles of policing. They are the watchman, the legalistic, and the service styles. With the watchman style, this is the type of policing that you see where it's, kind of like neighbors looking out for each other, where the night shift is bored, so they get out and they do building checks on businesses and find open doors. And they call the business owner at 2 o'clock in the morning and say, "Hey, we found the door on your business unlocked." Um, Things like that. Then you have the legalistic style, which is the stuff that you see where it's like zero tolerance law enforcement, where it seems like they're a soldier who has come in and they're just, this is what we're going to do. We're going to seize the objective, and all of that. And then you come to the service style, which is probably more like what you guys are used to seeing here in the United States, somewhere between a watchman and a service style. And in this is where the law enforcement officer serves more as a teacher on the law, rather than so much on enforcing the law or looking out for folks. This is where, like yesterday, we had an incident where I told a victim, or well, an alleged victim, because I don't believe the guy as far as I can throw him. But he said that this guy stole $800 in cash out of his wallet from a backpack, that all this sort of stuff. And I mean, I'm like, I don't even think you had $800 to begin with. And he was like, well, I want to press charges on him. I said, well, man, here's the deal: is we can't just press charges without evidence and proof. I said, we can certainly write a report for your report of theft of $800, but we can't file a charge without that. And we'll go ahead and we'll chase it down and see what we can do. But it's not about what we know; it's about what we can prove. And so there, I'm kind of educating this guy on just in general how the how the investigation and enforcement process works on something like that. I mean, we're still doing our job. We're still writing the report and conducting the investigation. But basically, I'm telling the guy, this is how the investigation enforcement process works. So I can't guarantee you that we're going to be able to put a charge on your guy, but we can certainly write the report for the theft. So that is a lot more of what you see these days in law enforcement. And I've got a video that I'll show you here in a little bit that'll make a little more sense. So I just generally love this one. This video, right, or this comic here from Larryville Blue. I certainly can identify with the motor officer here of education through enforcement. I do write a lot of tickets and I get a lot of crap for it, but at any rate, so that's just kind of a funny thing. So we have talked about a lot of things, and here we talk about the Kansas City Preventive Patrol experiment. And this is a highly important experiment. I highly suggest that you all read it at some point. And in the Kansas City Preventive Patrol experiment, they conducted a scientific experiment as to the effectiveness of patrol in Kansas City. And so they had a control group and 2 experimental groups. And in the proactive experimental group, they sent out like extra patrols to fight crime and do proactive police work. In the reactive group, they sent out that they pulled every patrol car off of the street, and the only time that you would see a patrol car in those districts was if they were called by somebody in the district, and then the officer would respond from their station to the call and then back to the station. So they removed all patrol from the reactive groups. They doubled patrol in the proactive groups, and then the control groups, they didn't change anything. And basically what they found in doing this was it didn't matter whether they were proactive, strictly reactive, didn't change anything. Crime rates were basically unaffected. They had no appreciable effect on crime rates by doing these different groups. So this is a very important study for you to be aware of. It will come up in many of your criminal justice classes. I will talk about this in your criminal justice classes a lot. And the primary reason why this is a very important study for you is because this is the first major scientific experiment that we used in criminal justice to actually attempt to use science to solve a sociological problem. So I'm going to say that again. The Kansas City Preventive Patrol experiment is important because it is the first time that we used science to attempt to solve a sociological problem. Okay. So we'll talk here about the stressors of police work right quick. So the first one here is the organization and administrative practices. This one is the most stressful to law enforcement officers. This is where most of our problems come from. And then there's just the criminal justice system in general, where there's the court, and the court screws things over and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And then we have the public, where it's like having a stack of dominoes, and these people, it's like, look, it's not the police that are screwing things up. It's the attorney, or it's the defense, or it's the court, or, but we end up catching the flack for it because we're the most visible part of the system. And then there is the stressors that are intrinsic to police work, which I marked down red line there. And that's basically because as a police officer, you're kind of in a heightened state of awareness and alert. And we spend a lot of time redlining like that. And so it puts a lot of physical stress on your body to be redlining for that long. So that's another bit of stress. But from this slide, the most important part to remember, organization and administrative practices is the most stressful thing for police officers out there. So we'll stop here and start the next video in just a minute.